Oh, wow. Fantastic. Explain your outfit for a second.
So tonight's outfit is inspired by the Met Gala, by the Met Collection, called Camp Notes on Fashion. So it's a bit of a Jeremy Scott moment, mixed with a bit of Mugler. My usual.
I don't know who any of those people are, but you look fantastic. You look fantastic. Did you watch the debate at all?
I watched a little bit of it while I was getting ready tonight. Okay. I was in the first couple minutes of it, then I had to head on down over here.
What'd you think of those couple minutes?
I mean, I think it's an extremely polarizing time to watch the debates. I mean, honestly, you kind of get the most out of it from the first few minutes. Bernie's first talking point was just straight on the topic. The first words out of Joe Biden's mouth were Trump, and that's clearly the angle he's going to be playing. Kamala Harris played more of a... I know it's still the debate, so I feel like she's going a little bit far towards the left of center just for the sake of debate. And I mean, I think that just generally it was seemed pointed. Honestly, it felt like the Real Housewives of something, like a reunion special. Because some of the questions just seemed very directly pointed, and yes, I understand that it's supposed to be. But some of them just borderline on that, we're trying to get ratings, kind of thing.
Get a viral answer or something.
Yeah, exactly. Ask an extremely pointed question oh, Bernie, you said 30 years ago, blah, 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 that you advocated for murder of dogs or something. Oh, that's going to be taken out of context by some right-wingers.
What are the key issues for you that you, that are the most important to you for candidates?
I mean, I'm looking at mostly foreign policy is a huge thing. I think on most of the fronts, Bernie still has my votes but foreign policy may be a bit of a clincher between him and Tulsi Gabbard lately.
A lot of people I speak to want them together somehow.
Absolutely. I'm thinking that if Bernie gets the candidacy, Tulsi would make a great Secretary of Defense. I know that's a bit old-timey to think about, but as a queer brown person, I genuinely am not looking as much at diversity, I understand diversity is important, yes, absolutely, first and foremost, but at the same time I'm looking at policy. I'm
so fucking happy you said that, because you missed it. Chuck Todd said to Bernie it was a bad thing, hey Bernie, you're talking...
I was in the car when that happened.
Chuck Todd saying to Bernie oh, you're saying that age shouldn't matter and gender shouldn't matter and blah blah blah.
Bernie was there marching during fucking segregation, and where was Joe Biden?
Creating laws to try and stop busing. That's where he was.
Exactly. So it's not as much about just what the candidate is. Yes, I believe we should have more diverse candidates, but at the same time, some of the diverse candidates we have aren't exactly in our best interests. Some of them are, bought by the corporations, some of them are bought by a lot of different people that we may not know of. And so it's really important just that you see the track record, you see the facts are there. I mean, it's such a more or less kind of right wing is saying it, but I just really care about what the facts are in this situation.
And to me, personally, I don't really care if you glow in the dark. If you don't believe in universal health care, if you don't believe in free education, I'm not for you. I mean, that's what I say.
Yeah, exactly. I don't care whether or not you are yes, women is an important demographic in this time period where a lot of reproductive rights are under fire. And I think that Gillibrand was really trying to vie for those 5 seconds in there, because you just heard her. I mean, it's such a... I don't want to sound sexist, but she was really vying to get in there, get her 5 seconds in anyone's platform. Mm-hmm. And I think that a lot of the rhetoric I just heard was okay, how do I take what Bernie said and make it more palatable to what I'm saying, so I'm not totally lying, but I'm still getting the votes.
Well, I think it should not be lost on people, and a lot of people have mentioned the winner of the first debate was actually Bernie, even though he wasn't in it, because everybody is now basically proposing what Bernie has been saying for 40 years. Bernie has moved the discussion in America so far left, and frankly, I don't really believe the majority of the things most of these people are saying. They're all kind of Johnny-come-lately progressives,
exactly.
But at least the discussion is moving.
We're changing the narrative, and I think that's an important place to go. But at the same time, we need to look at the track record. Yeah. I think that, yes, he even brought it up in the what's it called? In one of the topics about polling, how do you think he would do against Trump? He's well, I think the numbers are on my side, and it's that's where it got me. Is the numbers are on my side. It's even in those Midwest states. I mean, I think it's fucked up today. I just read this thing about how gerrymandering has been
the Supreme Court today basically decided to not weigh in on gerrymandering, which is going to allow basically gerrymandering to continue that only helps Republicans.
Yeah, exactly. Like a lot of these historically have benefited like these right-wing candidates because it's been their ace in the hole. They know they're not going to get votes based on platform alone. Like I think in the current climate we're in, where Trump has radicalized people, I think it's also the sense that we should look at what kind of led to this radicalization. Like, yes, he's given them a platform, but at the same time, this didn't start yesterday. I mean, to be completely honest, Obama deported more than like more immigrants than any sitting president throughout history, and
there were cages with children in them
before. Yeah. It's just now this is being publicized. Like, I mean, this is only like what 4 or 5 years ago that this was happening, and people weren't paying as much attention to it. It was happening. It's just now. This is like the Waterloo that Trump has to fall on. And of all the platforms and policies, like 1 week he'll say like we're going to war with Iran, then he's like, oh JK, no war with Iran. So it's like it's playing this like masochistic chess game with like, you know, the art of the deal with like, you know, the fate of humanity that I'm just like seeing now is happening. And it's just like you don't get the depth of how much weighs on this current election. Like, yes, I want to tell people to vote, but it's like, how much can we realistically do? Like, we're in Florida. There was a recount like for governor and senator, I believe, because of how, I mean, I'm in Broward County, and Brenda Snipes has just been like, Brenda Snipes just got ousted as
the one that rigged the election for Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Exactly, and I'm in her constituency. I live in Debbie Wasserman Schultz's constituency. I think she's a crook, honestly, because, I mean, what she did with the DNC is entirely illegal. Like, we could have had a Bernie like candidacy at least, and that's what I think that he reaches out to Middle America, and why he connects with the modern voter is because he understands what we're really looking for. We're not looking for a corporate middle of the ground. Oh, Hillary all of a sudden likes black people because she needs the votes, but back in the 90s she and Bill voted for all these bills.
She didn't offer you hot sauce?
She did. I'm not black enough to comment on, no comments. But now she also loves the gays because it's like, I need the LGBTs, the G's, the T's on my side. But it's like, you voted for the Defense of Marriage Act back in the 90s. So how much do you really need us just because you need the votes now?
And I will point out, somebody that I respect yesterday, we were having a bit of a debate. Bernie Sanders in the 1980s was the first mayor in America to have an LGBT rally march at the height of the HIV epidemic and hysteria. So, you know, the person said to me, so what? It was in Burlington, Vermont, not exactly brave.
This is still a time where prides weren't really happening. Like, today, actually in a few hours is really like the 60th anniversary of Stonewall, which is such a watershed moment for the LGBT rights movement. And I mean, as much as I'd like to see an LGBT candidate by Pete Buttigieg, I think that Buttigieg still has a lot more to go on the issues before he really gets any like solid grounding. Like, he's been very middle of the road. Like, if you look at his policies, super centrist. It's like, we don't need another centrist candidate. As you've seen through the debates, we've got plenty of them who are now hopping on the Bernie bandwagon and saying, oh, you know, I'm radical now, I'm a leftist.
Well, the media likes to say, well, who needs Bernie anymore? He's brought everybody over. Why doesn't he pass the torch?
That's what the congressman kept trying to say. Pass it to the next generation type shit.
Well, how about I don't pass it to the next generation, because I don't trust that you're going to follow through on any of it.
Yeah, exactly. We've tried to pass it to a few generations, and the boomers kind of failed us on that one. He's one of the few boomers out there. Probably he's a boomer, right? Yeah. Before I make any statements that go in the media, he's probably one of the last boomers to really like hold out for that, because I think that a lot of that generation just got so disillusioned by like late capitalism and the idea that they'd achieve the American dream. My family are all immigrants, and they've I mean, it's one thing to be like super leftist in this country, but it's exhausting to like really hold any political like value. Like, a lot of people just fall to the wayside.
Right. And last question. I mean, I was looking at Joe Biden tonight. I honestly don't know what the hell he was talking about. He just didn't make a lot of sense. He said the NRA is not our enemy, it's the gun manufacturers. They're the same thing, basically. He said he actually cut himself off. You missed this part where the debate moderator didn't cut him off. He just said, oh, my time's up, which was shocking to me. Yeah, he said that. And basically, he was talking about income inequality, but he's the one doing all these fundraisers with Wall Street, and Wall Street's the one that has basically hoarded all the money to the 1%. What are your thoughts? Because the media has obviously been propping him up.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've been seeing a lot of him as just like, he's this remnant from the Obama era that's trying to make a comeback, but as with, you see in like horror movies when like the dead come back to life, it's usually not a good thing. It's that kind of situation. I think that in his time period as a vice president, he really didn't have much to show. Like, I mean, we're talking now in the Pence era, so it's like, now there's even less to show, but like, I think that his track record hasn't been like, the most pro-black, the most pro-LGBT, pro-women. Like, he's a middle-of-the-road Catholic who just likes to, fall in the center. And I think the Obama presidency definitely ramped him up. I wish I had like a bingo thing ready to like say like, okay, when's he going to talk about the Obama presidency and how much he did for that one? Because he really didn't. And I think that when he actually hears himself talk, like the logistical like fallacies start to kick in. Like a lot of what he thought he said and a lot of the sense he's trying to make doesn't actually follow through. And I think that that's the one thing I like about some of these candidates like Bernie is that they can follow through on the logic of where they're going. Like when it was such a gotcha thing where they're trying to like say, so how are you actually going to pay for this? Like I think that question in these debates comes up so much.
Well, how are we going to pay for war with Iran?
Yeah.
How are we going to pay for, we want to go to war with Iran. We want to go to war with Syria. We're dropping bombs on Yemen. We're giving tax cuts to wealthy people and Amazon and Walmart. How are we going to pay for any of that? It's only how are we going to pay for healthcare, education.
And I was also thinking about like Andrew Yang's platform, like UBI, like Universal Basic Income.
Which sounds like kind of like irritable bowel syndrome to me.
UBI. I was talking to people about this. They said I should watch this movie. Sorry for Bothering. What's that one with? It's like directed by Keegan-Michael Key. It's like apparently it's about all UBI. So it's like that sounds like a really interesting way to think about it because I think that on paper, it's all like all things on paper. It sounds like a total fantasy, right? Like everyone gets $1,000 a month, everyone lives happy, but then it's like, so are things like taxes going to be raised? Is the base like economy going to rise just because everyone starts at $1,000 a month at least?
I think the problem with Andrew Yang to me is number one, you could give people $1,000 a month, but it doesn't change the coming apocalypse, which is a jobless economy. When you have automation, when you have robots taking over humans, $1,000 a month is not going to keep people afloat. Secondly, he has talked about basically robbing Peter to pay Paul, so taking people off entitlement programs and giving them that $1,000 a month. Entitlement programs we pay into, so you don't just yank people off of them. We paid into it. They're not entitlements if you pay into it. Thirdly, he hasn't been that strong on who's going to pay for the UBI. Is it Amazon? Is it Goldman Sachs? Is it Raytheon? Or is it us?
Right.
That's not clear.
Corporations, how they should be paying their dues. It's like, well, how are you going to ensure that they pay their dues? Like, I mean, Amazon pays nothing in taxes. Netflix pays nothing in taxes. I'm pretty sure the CEO of Raytheon sleeps well at night.
Oh, yes.
So it's like, I don't know, like, none of them are really proposing anything radical beyond like Bernie really to say like this X, Y, and Z are how we're going to get the funds for it, and I have a pretty set out plan. And then they try to pull the gotcha questions like, but this failed in New York, this failed here, this failed here. It's like he had succinct points for each of those like things they try to bring up about where this failed and why they haven't been thought through. And that's really what we need is someone who has the gift of hindsight to say we have this going for us. And the totally ageist bullshit. Like, he's almost as old as Trump.
And last question. We're almost at the end of June. We've been in this is Pride Month. Talk to me obviously we know Trump has been attacking the LGBTQ community. I didn't really hear that much. I mean, obviously Mayor Pete is gay, which it's fine that he's running.
A white centrist.
Right. So what should people know about LGBT activism here in Miami, and what are your main concerns or optimism about what's going on in the LGBTQ community?
So recently I did this performance about a letter to this corporate pride event. I'm not sure you've seen it all around the neighborhood. It's called Wynwood Pride. This is essentially a third-party private entity making a corporate pride event. They had stages. They allegedly said that they would donate to all these different nonprofits. They said they were starting a nonprofit. I did research into it. They have no legally registered 501c3, which is what a nonprofit is. They are sponsored by AT&T, who has donated over $2 million to 193 different like anti-LGBT, anti-trans like Marsha Blackburn, who's famously voted against been for a lot of Trump's transphobic policies, the trans removal from the military, and I think that in terms of the local, what we are looking for the Miami queer community, I think this is a national thing too, because we're also knee-deep in Pride Month. You go to New York, you see all these different Pride events sponsored by AT&T, Macy's, all these big companies that don't give a shit about queer people. They will go behind your back like the rest of the year. You check their tax returns, they donated millions to homophobic and transphobic senators. And I think that what we need to do, I mean, Pride started as a riot. Pride is a political events. Like even this Wynwood Pride event, they told a representative from the Miami Democrats, we can't have you involved because we want an apolitical space. An apolitical pride is pointless. It's just a shallow cash grab for capitalism. And I think what we as queer people need to do, especially in the time of Trump, especially where we're inundated with corporate branding and capitalism, is to band together and say, we're creating our own spaces, we're going to be radical, and we're going to fight for our fucking rights, because you don't get too fucking comfortable, gay people. Don't get too fucking comfortable. They're coming for you. Senator Clarence Thomas is coming for your fucking gay marriage and whatever. They're coming for trans people and their rights, and we cannot afford to let these homophobic, transphobic, whoever, senators be sitting pretty for their as long of a term limit as they have and vote against our interests and the people.
Well, we all better pray every fucking night, even if you're not religious, for that Ruth Bader Ginsburg to stay strong.
I'll donate one of my ribs to her, Ruthie.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. What's your name again?
Yoko Oso.
Yoko Oso?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statusquo.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statusquo.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.